I never imagined I would say this, but my relationship with my mistress is far deeper than anything I have with my wife. My name is Alex, and I will share a story. That may sound crazy to some people, but this is my reality. I have been married to my wife, Rachel, for more than 10 years. Unlike other couples, we have our ups and downs. We have 2 children together, and from the outside, everything looked perfect. However, the truth is, I have long felt unfulfilled in my marriage. I guess that sort of thing is quite common for many people at some point in their lives. But what I never expected was to meet someone who changed everything. Her name is Emily, and she is my mistress. I know, this sounds bad, but please hear my story first. I have known Emily for several years. We met through work and we immediately clicked. We connected through shared interests and a similar sense of humor. At first, it was just friendship, but over time, our feelings for each other grew. I tried to ignore it, thinking that I was simply being unfaithful to my wife, but I couldn't deny the connection we had. My relationship with Emily developed slowly. We met to grab coffee or have lunch, and before I knew it, we were meeting often. It felt like I had rediscovered a part of myself that had been missing. We talked about our dreams, our fears, and our desires. I felt like I could be myself around her without judgment. At first, I thought I was just being selfish, just looking for an escape from my marriage. However, the more I was with Emily, the more I realized that my feelings for her were genuine. I felt alive again, like I was 20 years old and falling in love for the first time. Meanwhile, my marriage was getting worse. My wife and I were growing further apart, and I could feel the distance between us getting larger. We often argued about small things, and I could hear the frustration in her voice. I knew I had to make a choice, but it was very difficult to let go of either of them. The pressure in my marriage was intense. My wife would ask where I had been, and I would make up stories. I felt like I was living a lie. Emily, on the other hand, made me feel seen and heard. She knew me in ways my wife did not. I began to realize that I was constantly comparing my wife to Emily. It wasn't fair to either of them, but I couldn't stop. Emily was the person who made me feel at home, whereas my wife felt like a roommate. There was one moment when I realized how deep my feelings for Emily were. We were on holiday together, just the 2 of us, walking on the beach at sunset. The sky was filled with colors I had never seen before. She held my hand, and I felt exactly where I was meant to be. That moment became a turning point for me. I knew I had to face my feelings and make a decision. I couldn't keep living in the middle, having 2 relationships at once. I had to choose between my wife and my mistress. The conversation I had with my wife was very heavy. I told her how I felt, and she was deeply hurt. She asked if I still loved her, and I answered yes. But in a different way, I think she knew what was happening, but she didn't want to admit it. After that conversation, our marriage would never be the same. My wife and I decided to go to therapy, to work through our issues. It was hard, but we were determined to make it work. As for Emily, I knew I had to make a choice. I decided to be honest with Emily about my situation. I told her about my conversation with my wife and my decision to try to fix the marriage. She understood, but I could see that she was hurt. I knew I had to do right by her, even if it meant letting her go. The aftermath of that moment was very heavy. My wife and I tried to repair the relationship, but I still had feelings for Emily. I think my wife knew that I had been with someone else, and it was hard for her to trust me again. As for Emily, I think she moved on quickly. She deserved better than someone who was still tied to a marriage. Looking back, I learned a lot from this experience. I learned that love is complicated and not always easy to navigate. I also learned that commitment is more than just love. Commitment is about choosing to stay and work through the hard times.